What is going on, everybody? It's KB. Before the episode starts, make sure you go check out StreamerSZN's brand new theme music. That's right. We have full-time, brand new theme music thanks to the newest homie and newest member of the music side of Underground Sports Philadelphia homies. That is Mobley. Stay Volk. His new single is out now. It is linked in the description on YouTube, and you'll be hearing it on audio until we can figure out if we can play it on video on StreamerSZN episodes from here on out. That's our new theme music. Stay Volk. Go download it now wherever you get your music, and go check out the music video on YouTube. But now, let's get into the episode of StreamerSZN.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
And as they say in the old country, let's do the time slip again.
Da-na-na-na.
What is going on, fellow streamers? Welcome into another edition of StreamerSZN, the exclusive streaming platform, TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. It's KB, it's Christian, and it is hashtag Loki season, everybody. I know we missed last week. Christian and I were very delved into an abrupt end to Red October and just Philadelphia sports in general being hectic this time of year. But we're back. Loki is not going anywhere. And we've got 2 episodes to break down, so you get 2 for the price of 1. Plus, we'll dive into everything going on in the streaming platform, Multiverse news and notes, everybody's favorite segment. But before we get started, breaking down Loki Season 2 episodes 3 and 4, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at StreamerSZN, Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and on TikTok at StreamerSZNPod. Also, I know it's that time of year. If you are looking for an internship and you're in the college ranks or just looking to get your feet wet in the social media and the digital media space, hit us up, email us, undergroundsportsphi@gmail.com. Shoot us over a resume or just your thoughts on getting into digital media. If you're in the entertainment space too, we'd love to have some people join our StreamerSZN behind the scenes crew. So shoot us an email because it is hashtag intern season. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find our network as a whole. Be sure to follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_PHI. Follow me at KPIZZL311. And subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every single week for the most part. You get full video episodes of every show on our network, live streams, shorts, clips, original video content, all coming out of Underground Studios, is on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Christian, I think since the last time we recorded, I haven't been able to give you an update. DJ is on his way home. We have hit over 600 subscribers. He's on his way back from Alaska, and now we need to get to 700. Otherwise, he's got a one-way return flight to Alaska.
You hear that, people?
Unless we decide to find a new place for him, and then he just has to set up shop in a new area.
Yeah.
So we're on that road to 700 and obviously on that road to 1,000. So go subscribe, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. Christian, we got Loki, 2 episodes to break down. And after watching both of them, I'm kind of glad we waited because it feels like both of these episodes kind of like pair well together. And kind of like piggyback off of each other. So it was good to kind of be able to watch them at the same time and have them kind of come together. But overall, we were talking before we started recording, and we both, as we watched these 2 episodes, felt like episode 2 was like what the hell is happening?
Yeah, it's one that in the moment I think we liked more. And then as we've thought about it more, we've been like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm. And I saw a lot of people online saying like it felt like that episode kind of came out of order. Felt like it was like placed wrong for most of it, and kind of just a very weird curveball that got thrown in early in the season. But we've got episodes 3 and 4 to break down. It's brought to you by our pals over at PHI Apparel Company, our exclusive merch partners. There's no better way to stand out in the crowd at the movie theater, if you're Netflix and chilling, if you're just having a family movie night, or watching your favorite shows, watching Loki, if you will, then with our pals over at PHI Apparel Company. They are the best merch partners in the game. Get your exclusive StreamerSZN merch. We're working on some stuff for Black Friday, which is crazy that that's only a month away. So go to phiapparel.co and use code Underground. Gear up for the birds. Gear up for your favorite shows and movies and everything in between. phiapparel.co, code Underground for 10% off your orders. And when you get your merch, be sure to tag us, tweet us. We'll repost it. We want to see where you're rocking your merch from. Shout out to the best merch partners in the game, phiapparel.co, and use code Underground for 10% off your order. Christian, let's start with episode 3. Just general thoughts before we get into the breakdown. What did you make of this episode, as we kind of sort of got the post-credit scene from Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania in this one? A little reworked, or a little, actual footage of the scene there, as opposed to what we got in the post-credit scene. But this episode is titled 1893, so you kind of knew where we were going. But your overall thoughts on episode 3?
I feel like it set an interesting idea of He Who Remains kind of creating himself in a way, and bringing Renslayer and Miss Minutes back into it, and bringing the whole kind of emotional bit of how it was He Who Remains who ordered Miss Minutes to wipe all their memories and stuff. It did leave me wanting more, though.
Yeah, and I think that's why it was good that, just for the sake of this breakdown, we waited, because 3 and 4 kind of felt like they paired off together. It was still kind of in that time frame of how things happen. They pair well together. I like the historical aspect of it as a history nerd myself, and just knowing the references that they were making with real life history, as Loki tends to do. We obviously saw that in season 1 with the DB Cooper stuff, and we've seen it with, going to McDonald's right as it opened, and now we get to the Chicago World's Fair. There's some very funny historical references throughout this episode. Eric Voss does a great breakdown on New Rock Stars, pointing out some of them. One of them, though, Christian, that I'm sure you will get a laugh about. There's a reference to H.H. Holmes, the serial killer from Chicago during the Chicago World's Fair, throughout this episode. And the newspaper that Loki and Mobius are reading, there's an ad for this hotel at the Chicago World's Fair that is notorious for where H.H. Holmes was killing people, to which there is a newspaper ad underneath that one for life insurance.
That's great. That's great.
And then when they're in Victor Timely's presentation room, there's a lot of people who have a lot of resemblances to H.H. Holmes. So a lot of people trying to pick out, oh, is that H.H. Holmes in the room? Very funny stuff there. Obviously, serial killing, not funny, but very good historical pointing out of things that were happening at the time. I agree with you on this episode of wanting more, and I'm glad that episode 4 kind of bled into it a little bit. I thought it was a solid mid-season episode, but I do agree with you that if I had watched this when it debuted and then not had episode 4 for a week, I would have been like the fish meme from SpongeBob banging on the floor, like, I need more. So let's get into the breakdown. Christian, do you want to drop that sweet, sweet spoiler warning?
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, this is your friendly neighborhood spoiler warning. Wow, so just if you haven't seen these 2 episodes of Loki, wow, just bad by you if you haven't. Go quickly pause this episode. Wow, go and watch these past 2 episodes, and then come back here and listen to us talk about these episodes. Wow, right?
Wow.
Yes. Wow. So this is your neighborhood spoiler warning. Wow. Marmaduke.
Wow.
Marmaduke.
Cow.
You, Kyle, you have to post that. So long story short, for people who don't get what Kyle and I were just doing there, was it last night? Or was it 2 nights ago?
2 nights ago.
We proceeded to text "wow" with different gifs of Owen Wilson back and forth together, and then I broke him by texting a picture of the live-action Marmaduke movie in which Owen Wilson voices Marmaduke. So be on the lookout for that.
I was doing that in the middle of an Applebee's too. So here we go. Episode 3 of season 2 of Loki, titled 1893. Miss Minutes and Renslayer. We finally see Renslayer this season, and Miss Minutes for that matter. They traveled to Chicago in 1868, and I think it's important to point out on the little time code traveling indicator that 1868 is on the sacred timeline. So that is the main continuity of the MCU that they were in. And I believe they have started to show that as any of the characters have traveled through, it'll show what timeline they are on. So I think that's important to just keep in the back of your mind. That's where they were in 1868. It was the sacred timeline, which is your main continuity of MCU canon, if you will. They traveled to Chicago in 1868 to secretly drop off the TVA guidebook to a young Victor Timely, a variant of He Who Remains, who informed Miss Minutes about his plan before his death. Then they traveled to 1893 at the Chicago World's Fair on this branch timeline where Loki and Mobius arrive, tracking Renslayer's tempad. There they see Timely presenting his temporal loom prototype. And Christian, you had trouble listening to Victor Timely.
Okay. So, as someone who has a stutter, I'm used to listening to people who have a stutter talk. But even then, with how much he's bumbling across his words and how he clearly doesn't fully know what he's talking about, and just the whole performative nature, I'm like, I can't listen to this. And the only other time I've been like this recently is when I, for some reason, watched Hubie Halloween, and Sandler was kind of doing a similar thing. I'm like, no, if you're going to have a character have a stutter, you either have to have it be something like mine, or you have someone who actually has a stutter do it. Because otherwise, it's just perceived as annoying when it's like, oh, this is a really good actor, and it's just aggravating. Anyway,
Voltage. So we get them tracking Renslayer's temp pad. There they see Timely presenting his temporal loom prototype. Victor Timely then has 4 groups chasing him. Loki and Mobius, who want to use his aura to fix the loom. Renslayer and Miss Minutes, who want to take his variant's place with them at his side. Sylvie, who wants to kill him to prevent his rise to power. And a robber baron, as the subtitles indicated, and his allies wanting revenge against Timely's fake invention scam. Now, I don't know if that robber baron was anybody of significance or not in terms of historical or MCU continuity. I just found it interesting that the subtitles actually gave him an indicator of like a name.
Yeah.
But Timely escapes the fair with Renslayer and Miss Minutes, although Miss Minutes convinces Timely to abandon Renslayer. We also see ghostly Miss Minutes that we saw in the trailer, which was not how I expected that to debut, but it was very, very funny.
Yep. It was weird seeing her without color at first, but
you better run.
It's such a weird thing with that accent. You better run, and I'm trying to be intimidating, you know.
I love Tara Strong. Icon. So Timely escapes the fair with Renslayer and Miss Minutes. And Miss Minutes convinces Timely to abandon Renslayer, and at Timely's Wisconsin laboratory, he turns Miss Minutes off after she professes romantic love for him. Heyo, bing bong. Renslayer, Loki, Mobius, and Sylvie arrive, with Sylvie gaining control. Seeing Timely's fear, Sylvie allows Loki to take him back to the TVA, then sends Renslayer to the Citadel at the end of time, with Miss Minutes being brought along. They see He Who Remains' decaying corpse as Miss Minutes reveals that she knows a secret about Renslayer, and she's going to be real mad, Christian. She's going to be real mad.
Real mad.
This begs the question, and I know New Rockstars did this, and I know a couple other outlets did this. My first question from this episode for you, Christian, is did He Who Remains and Miss Minutes fuck?
I'm not going to answer that question specifically because I don't want that mental picture in my head. but also because I can't compute that picture in my head. So I'd rather just leave it that way at the moment.
Come on, you saw her on the mannequin. Wow. This episode, to me, just raised more questions about what the fuck is Miss Minutes.
And this episode, to me, raised more questions of what the fuck is this show doing? And then that was further emphasized by the next episode. Because I'm kind of now, like, after a good start, like, it's... Okay, let me fully be clear. This is not dropping off like the Secret Invasion dropping off a 30,000 story cliff here. This show feels like it's been gradually going downhill a little. And with how episode 4 ends, and we'll get to that, it has the chance to peak back up, but I don't think it peaks back up to the point where we really want it to be.
My one thought, as we've been talking about this too, we gotta, because I mean, when Loki season 1 happened, they said they wanted Loki to be like an ongoing thing. We gotta assume a season 3 is gonna happen.
As long as Tom wants to do it, and listen, Tom, go ahead, buddy. Go, like, just it. Now, would I prefer for this to make like more sense and less of maybe slightly chaotic messages at times? Yes. But I'm here for just you and Owen Wilson bantering for 30 minutes a week. I don't know. Like,
yeah, I mean the historical aspects of this were very, very fun. I personally liked Victor Timely because it's one of those things that he was kind of doomed by He Who Remains, with Renslayer dropping that book through his window. Like, sure, this kid who just grows up to look like Jonathan Majors ends up, being a Kang variant because of this, but I think that part of it too, where Victor Timely in the comics is this like diabolical Kang variant, is doomed because of time travel, which is very fitting. And then I don't know if you knew this either, Christian, Marvel Comics was originally called Timely Comics.
Interesting.
So that's very fun. And I think the way that Victor Timely is used in these 2 episodes, which we'll get to episode 4 in a little bit, but I think the way that he's perceived is a good interpretation, because it's like he has no fucking idea like what this whole Kang variance and everything is that's going to affect his life.
Yeah.
And he's just very unbecoming and ill-informed about it, and I think the way that Jonathan Majors played that role was very, very good. I enjoyed it.
I just think my biggest thing is that he very much just feels like a means to an end
Okay.
in the way the show uses him, given how episode 4 ended. And for something that was so hyped and so billed going into it, I'm kind of like, really? Really? So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought like good episode, not like amazing, not great, but like very good, very solid, very like good middle ground episode for a mid-season. That leads us to our grades here, Christian. What would you give episode 3 of season 2 of Loki, titled 1893, as a score?
So, I'm not going to be that nice about this one. I think episode 4 is better, but this is worse than episode 2. And I'm demoting this down to like a 6. Just because it's like it starts out really well. Episode 2, now that we've had 2 weeks to sit on it, it's like, was it really as good and clean as we thought it was? And then this is kind of just diving even more into the mess. And it feels like after we talk about episode 4 that there's going to be a mini reset here, given how it ended. And maybe that'll help fix things and set things on a straighter path for the last 2. But I'm just cautiously allowing myself room for grading and saying a 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 7.3. Like I said, it wasn't like the most spectacular episode. It wasn't terrible. So I mean, it was fun, and I think it was a good, like I said, middle of the season episode that ties in very well with the following episode, so that helps it a little bit in my book. So 7.3 plus 6. Divide that by 2, that's a 6.65. Rounded up is a 6.7. Still on the watchable side of the scale, which is good. It's not under a 5. But that leads us to episode 4 of season 3, titled Heart of the TVA. This episode was kind of get you back in the mix of everything with the TVA and the world coming to an end. Still have Victor Timely on the screen,
and then how it ended.
Yeah.
So let's just start talking through this summary, Kyle, shall we?
So we have Miss Minutes revealing that in the past, Renslayer commanded He Who Remains his army, Christian. Wow.
Really?
He proposed that Renslayer lead the TVA with him, and then had Miss Minutes erase the memories of Renslayer and other TVA employees, which we kind of knew happened back in season 1 and have had more acknowledgement of that throughout this season. And as the temporal loom reaches catastrophic failure, Loki and his allies attempt to use Victor Timely and Ouroboros' throughput multiplier to fix it. Good to have more OB in the mix as well. And it's revealed that the source of OB's knowledge is Victor Timely himself. Oh my gosh, it's like a snake eating its tail, I tell you what.
Oh, Ouroboros, snake eating its tail? Huh.
Creating a predestination paradox. Renslayer and Miss Minutes attempt to take over the TVA, approaching the detained Wolf. Dox and her loyalists for help. Only Wolf agrees. Dox and her loyalists instead choose to be crushed to death by Miss Minutes, which was like,
Like, okay, I want to quickly unpack this because between Secret and Invasion of this, Marvel's been doing a lot more brutal stuff in the TV shows.
along with Werewolf by Night too.
That one
as a special presentation. It wasn't a full show.
So they'll do this brutal stuff, and like most of it's off screen except for some stuff in Secret Invasion. But you didn't let Raimi go full Raimi in Multiverse of Madness. It's like, no, like you like they're pick one. Anyway,
speak your truth.
speak my truth.
So then Wolf prunes Hunter D90, which was kind of like, holy shit, and kidnaps Victor Timely. While staging a rescue, Sylvie and Loki encounter his time-slipping past self, to which Loki prunes his past self, which Christian on our watch-along called this.
Yes. Because the TVA was so empty during that first episode, and he's in the hallway, and the phone's ringing. I'm like, is he in the future? And spoiler alert, he was in the future. Aha!
Yeah, we had a couple theories to the phone ringing, and then turns out it was OB on the phone. That part, if you're watching this episode at like 1:30 in the morning on lack of sleep, kind of fucks you up. Like it did me. I was like, huh? What? He pruned himself? Because now you're like, okay, this Loki's from the past, and now he just pruned future past Loki, and your brain goes all over the place. Which also is very funny that Obi on the phone is saying, it's going to override the security systems, which will allow people to use magic in the TVA. Both Loki and so, turn her off. So OB deactivates Miss Minutes and the TVA's magic suppressing devices. This enables Sylvie to enchant Wolf, controlling him to prune Renslayer. And Victor Timely is rescued and is able to restore access to the temporal loom. Also seeing Miss Minutes go full demon time was kind of wild.
Yeah.
You'll never be him. And then goes back to an analog clock. And kind of loses her southern drawl. But the loom's increased temporal radiation. I love the breakdown here. The word used here is spaghettifies.
Yes. Time turns into time spaghetti. Uh-huh.
I wonder if you can order that at the Olive Garden. Spaghettifies him before he can launch the throughput multiplier. The temporal loom explodes with the blast wave spreading towards Loki, Mobius, Sylvie, B-15, Casey, and OB in the TVA. Screen goes black. Christian, I need to ask you, did you think something was wrong with your TV when this episode ended and paused for a good, 5 seconds?
No.
I thought I hit a button on my remote, and I audibly said, what the fuck? And then it went to the credits, and I was like, what the fuck?
It just feels like such a Marvel thing.
Yeah. I was so confused. I thought I hit the exit button on my TV by accident and thought I closed out of the episode.
Like it's kind of a cheap tactic, but
Suspense. Lot to unpack from this episode, I would say. Victor Timely is now Spaghetti Monster. We don't know the fate of our heroes.
Well, let's be honest. They're going to be alive in somehow, some way.
Yeah. We don't know what universe they'll end up in.
Which is why I'm kind of like it's a cheap thing to do, because it's like there's 2 episodes left. We know they're not dead.
Yeah.
So
they're both Benson and Moorhead and Eric Martin on the episode. So
exactly, like, it's come on now, guys. Come on now. This is like how you ended Fast 10 Part 1. It's like, we know Vin Diesel's not dead. We know he's not dead, guys. Come on.
He's all about family. He's all about the family. Yeah, I mean, this episode was kind of crazy. I think the biggest thing is Renslayer getting pruned is kind of wild, because now you would expect she's in the void. At least that's what we know of the pruned peeps to end up in, which means she's got to deal with Goliath, which is also kind of wild. And I think we saw in the trailers at one point they end up in the void, so you would assume part of this they're going to be there. And I mean, time-slipping Loki gets pruned, so is time-slipping Loki in the void. There's a lot to decompress from this one. And figuring out what universe the TVA might crash into, because the temporal loom exploded.
Crash into me, baby.
They're going the distance.
They're going for speed.
Yeah, I like this episode. I think it was fun. There's a lot that happens in it that just makes it like a big old mind fuck. Time slipping Loki getting pruned by Mission Loki, if you will. We find out who the phone was ringing for, and we got a spaghetti monster now in the MCU.
Wee.
So Christian, Heart of the TVA, a Benson and Moorhead, Eric Martin, Catherine Blair production, episode 4 of season 2 of Loki, gets a score of what from you?
6.2. Like, I like it better than the third episode, but it's still like all kinds of messy. It's like, so we're just gonna spaghetti monster Victor Timely after hyping him up so much. Because last time they did a big thing like this was how at the end of Black Widow they show Yelena and Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and she kind of directs him towards Hawkeye. And that's kind of used in the culminating backstretch of that show. Whereas here it's like, congrats, here's 2 episodes of Victor Timely. Is he actually dead? It wouldn't surprise me, given how Marvel handles characters that are kind of villainous, and there's a billion He Who Remains, so Lord knows. But it's just like, I have too many creative questions in a way.
That's fair. Yeah, I like this more than episode 3. Like you said, still kind of like all over the place, and a lot of questions that who knows if we'll get the answers to them this season or not. I'm going to give it a 7.5, which is just a tick above last episode for me as well. So you do the quick math there. That adds up to a 13.7 divided by 2, 6.85 rounded up. That's a nice score of 6.9. Nice. Which will now bring us from our Loki breakdowns to everybody's favorite segment. It's the streaming platform Multiverse News and Notes, brought to you by our pals over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia and of StreamerSZN, which you can now get in New Jersey. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenny's on tap in the Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, and Maryland areas. It's 4.1% ABV, just 120 calories, only 8 grams of carbs. It's the best light beer on the goddamn planet. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Also, check out their store for their Kenny merch. They just released some new Kelly green shirts and sweatshirts. Shout out to the birds. They look very nice. And they double up for St. Patrick's Day. So go to kenwoodbeer.com. Got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Christian, I think the big news we should start with that we were talking about in the group chat, Daredevil seems to be saved.
The changes they're making to Daredevil seem promising. That's how I would phrase it.
So everybody knows we talked about last episode. Everybody from Daredevil basically got scrapped. They're redoing everything outside of the cast. We got news, though, from the Hollywood Reporter. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead are set to direct, obviously from Loki Season 2. And then Dario Scardapane from The Punisher is set as the showrunner for Daredevil Born Again. And we all know John Bernthal is going to be in this season as the Punisher. And we know how the Punisher gets. This has me so excited.
It has me hopeful. It has me hopeful that it's going to be more under control than potentially just what these last bit of Marvel shows have been.
Especially now that we know like these shows are getting the actual
proper
television show treatment, and Dario Scardapane has worked on proper show running in the past at Netflix. So knowing how a television show is supposed to actually work, that is a big bonus. So consider me fired up from that aspect to have those three involved, along with obviously the cast remaining the same. I think Daredevil Born Again just like went from everybody being like, what's this gonna be, to all right, this is very promising.
Yeah. This show's always been up your alley more than it's been up mine, so
big Daredevil guy. Who would have thunk this, Christian? Marvel was pressured into announcing the Fantastic Four and other projects that they were nowhere near ready for at Disney Investor Day.
Who could have seen this coming? Huh.
Pretends to be shocked.
Yeah. Truly pretends.
The Boys spinoff Gen V has been renewed for season 2.
I'm yet to watch it, but it's gotten very high praise. And Kyle, when we finally have a date for the Boys season, I don't remember if it's season 3 or season 4. We are starting our educating you on the Boys train.
So here's the thing. I attempted to watch The Boys way back in the year 2020 at peak Pandy Wandy times.
And then?
And it was before my brain had the capacity to sit and watch hour-long episodes of shows.
You are fucking pathetic.
Yeah. I was a wee lad back then. So I just put it on the shelf, and I just haven't gone back to it yet.
God forbid an hour-long TV episode. Oh my god. How would you watch a movie?
I wasn't in the right mindset, Christian, okay? Who would have thought, too, Christian, that Ike Perlmutter wanted to ruin the MCU more than he already did?
Uh-huh.
Did you see this news?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure, but just go ahead.
Marvel wanted to cut Iron Man from Captain America Civil War and push for the airport fight to be superheroes versus super soldiers. The Russo brothers threatened to quit over creative differences with the Marvel Creative Committee. Kevin Feige ended up siding with the directors, which led to Ike Perlmutter trying to fire them. Bob Iger stepped in to stop that and move Marvel under Alan Horn.
There's also a very famous story of how Ike Perlmutter, if I remember the story correctly, didn't think Black Panther should be made because who wants to see that?
Yep.
Yeah, so let's just say he's racist and outdated, and just chalk it up to that.
I don't need no damn robots on my screen. Give me my super soldiers. He stinks. Who also could have seen this coming? It only applies to the United States, Britain, and France, but Netflix is raising prices again. Basic pricing now $11.99 a month, and premium goes all the way up to a whopping $22.99 a month.
Let's play the game of how long until Netflix, Max, and pick whatever other streaming service you want combined costs as much as a cable package.
Yep.
Let's play the game, folks.
Bum, bum, ba-na, bum, bum, ba-na.
A piece of news. Well, I've got a few things to throw out your way. There is buzz that a SAG deal may be completed this weekend.
Shark bait. Hoo ha ha. Let's go.
Okay.
Finding Nemo.
What was? Oh, Amazon MGM, because yes, Amazon bought MGM.
Yep.
So now they're called Amazon MGM Studios, which don't love that, but they are working on doing a proper TV adaptation of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books, because there's multiple ones and they only made. And also my mom's someone who read the books and watched the David Fincher movie, and she's like, there's so much more in the book, so that's something.
I can see how that works.
Yeah, and like it
seems like a very Amazon project too.
Yeah, like it fits within the Netflix brand of like trying to have broad appeal. Lionsgate is moving forward with a Chad Stahelski Henry Cavill Highlander film.
I have something that's very Dylan, but also probably piques your interest just from a voice actor cast list.
Go ahead.
The English language voice cast for
Hayao
Miyazaki's The Boy and the Heron.
Boy and the Heron, yeah.
Everybody listen to this voice acting list.
It is great, guys.
Christian Bale, Dave Bautista, Gemma Chan, Willem Dafoe, Mark Hamill, Robert Pattinson, Florence Pugh, Karen Fukuhara, Tony Revolori, Dan Stevens, Luca Padovan. What a list.
Heavy hitters, boys.
What a lit. Luca Padovan's name looks familiar. How do I know that name?
You look it up while I ring out some stuff. Disney has delayed Snow White and Elio. So, and
I have
do you
no
know,
interest in that Snow White movie, by the way.
even though it stars Rachel Zelliger and it's written by Greta Gerwig? Yeah, no. Well, Kyle, welcome to the. I choose not to acknowledge these Disney live action remakes, and the only one I even somewhat choose to acknowledge is the Aristocats one, because it's supposed to be directed by Questlove.
Yeah.
And that's the only one I choose to.
Oh, okay. I know who this kid is. He was like one of the faces of the reboot of the Are You Afraid of the Dark thing on Nickelodeon.
Oh.
He's a young boy.
But Kyle, let's be hold on, let me we've gotten multiple trailers for the Killer, which, guys, I saw. last night over in Philly, and I really enjoyed. So there's that. We got a trailer for Maestro, which is Bradley Cooper's starring and directing biopic of Leonard Bernstein. Does that interest you, Kyle?
A little bit. You know what interests me too? This coming week, in just a couple days, we get a nice little Halloween treat on Netflix, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, true. In sad news earlier this week, Richard Roundtree, a.k.a. Shaft, died. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2 got delayed to 2025. But really, if we think about it, the most important news of the week is that, actually, I should say, and Kyle, I'll have to show you this trailer after. We have a trailer for American Fiction, which won the Toronto International Film Festival Award which won the Audience Award, which is typically a precursor of it being nominated for Best Picture. Have you seen the trailer for it?
I have not.
So I'll show it to you after, which I think you'll really enjoy. But really, the big news, Kyle, come on. Martin Scorsese joined Letterboxd. That's the big news of the week. Scorsese's on Letterboxd, baby. We did it.
Q Wolf of Wall Street.
Common denominator now. Marty, baby, welcome to the party.
Here is Let's Make Dylan Feel Old.
Even though he's still time slipping.
He's still time slipping. Christopher Nolan's The Prestige was released 17 years ago this week.
Considering I finally watched it for the first time this year, certainly doesn't feel that old.
Let's see here. We have...
I've pretty much run out of stuff, so.
Where is this at? I had something here. We have another update from George R.R. Martin, which just makes me laugh every time because he's never going to finish these books. Let's be honest.
Yeah. So
he said, "I've been working. I'm 12 years late with Winds of Winter. I'm just going to put it right out there. You guys don't have to pester me about it." Self-acknowledgement.
So a few other movies we kind of got trailer stuff for. We got a trailer for Eileen, which is an Anne Hathaway, Thomasin McKenzie film that ended up filming in North Jersey, I think. That's like a psychological thriller that's being distributed by Neon. Very, very interesting. But what was the other one I was thinking of? Oh yeah. You heard the news about Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein movie, right? Did we talk about this last podcast?
I knew about it, but I don't know.
So it is Andrew Garfield playing Dr. Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Isaac playing the monster.
Mm-hmm.
Mia Goth playing the bride of Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
And Christoph Waltz in a yet-to-be-named role. And I'm like, sold! You didn't even have to tell me the roles. You didn't even have to tell me the roles, baby. Just like that cast, Guillermo del Toro, Frankenstein, I kind of already pieced together that even before they said that I was already saying, so Garfield's going to be Dr. Frankenstein. 100% Oscar Isaac is going to be the monster because he does all that changing around stuff.
Yeah.
So it just makes all the sense in the world. But hearing that they're doing Bride of Frankenstein too with me, that's just like, oh, okay. Yes, Guillermo, excellent, wonderful, even better.
We got a quote here from Kevin Feige that's pretty interesting about MCU continuities.
Oh dear.
He says the Marvel movies and shows created by other companies are canon in the MCU's multiverse. Quote, you never know when timelines may crash or converge.
Christ.
Because this is all coming because we got the Marvel Studios, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, an official timeline book that released. And everybody is sifting through it. There's a lot of interesting things that came out of it, including a correction, Christian, that I think everybody has been waiting for because it's Sony versus Disney. The placement in the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, where it says 8 years later, was a mistake. It wasn't supposed to happen, and that time card is now null and void. In the book, Miss Minutes says, Red line alert, hi again. Adrian Toombs says the Battle of New York was 8 years ago, but that event was only 4 years prior. This one's a real head-scratcher for us. I reckon an analyst misplaced the case file. Also, I have to shout out to our boy Pat Pitts because he was fully convinced that Scarlet Witch is dead at the end of
Pat,
Multiverse
buddy,
Madness.
come on
Pat,
now.
buddy.
Pat, come on now.
Which
No one's ever dead unless we see him die on screen, buddy. Come on.
Correct. Now. Scarlet Witch is dead according to the MCU and official timeline. Wanda destroys Woundagore and collapses it on herself, ending two great threats to the multiverse. Guys, everybody, hey, I just gotta say,
bullshit.
There's a multiverse, but the MCU official timeline book says that this version of Wanda is dead. We know there are a gazillion versions of Wanda where her kids exist. That version of Wanda is done. Other Wandas exist. Plus, Secret Wars is happening. That Wanda will be back. She's a fucking witch, goddammit.
Shall we pay homage to Halloween?
One last thing before we do. Very fun quote from Empire Magazine from Werner Herzog. He says, people should not dismiss Star Wars. Quote, they are new mythologies and a new way of seeing our role in the universe.
Of all people, him being the one to say that, I find extremely amusing. Because
I knew you would.
Because, so for those of you who don't know who he is, anyone who has seen John Wick, not John Wick, Jack Reacher, would know him as the evil Russian guy in that film. But before he was that, he's this very famous German director who's, let's put it this way, has had some very interesting films, including one famous, I would call it a folly called Fitzcarraldo from 1982. Kyle, this was a movie that was filmed in the literal Amazon jungles. And he and his star got so into it and at each other that some of the natives they were using asked if he wanted him killed. But Kyle, first I want you to Google Fitzcarraldo. And I want you to click images. Fitzcarraldo.
And bingo was his name, oh.
And click images. Do you see this boat?
Yes.
Part of the reason this film is like everyone was going nuts was they were literally dragging a boat up and down the hill. They were practically doing it. And if you look at the size of that boat, and if you want to use this as a TikTok clip, but they were actually dragging this boat up and down while filming, and that's part of the reason this was like a nightmare of a film, and the star and the director wanted to kill each other.
All I can think of is the scene from SpongeBob when
It's
they're
always
pushing
you
the
and
city,
SpongeBob.
where they're pushing the sea. Push.
But yeah, it's very interesting that of all people, Werner. Anyway,
one last thing before Halloween, because I found this very funny. And
one last thing. Oh,
because it went viral on the internet across the board and reached timelines I wouldn't have expected. Killers of the Flower Moon is Eli the Owl's first movie role. She beat out 5 other owls for the part, and Leonardo DiCaprio took a break from filming to watch her scenes.
Which I have to say this. I thought that owl was CGI. And I still can't be fully convinced that it isn't CGI. It is too well trained. It is too well trained, and it looks too good. But also on the Killers of the Flower Moon note, Sony and Apple are suing. Are saying that a theater violated their contracts because there was a theater in Fort Collins, Colorado, who showed it with an intermission. Which is no. There is no intermission in that movie.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah, let's do that spooky thing, as it is Spooktober coming to a close, and Halloween is on the horizon. And in honor of Five Nights at Freddy's being out in theaters and on Peacock, not an ad.
Whatever you want to tell yourself, Kyle.
But those clips from the movie theater are absolutely. Did you see the one where there was somebody dressed up as an animatronic Freddy?
Send me that.
Sitting in the movie theater. I'm sending it to you right now so you can get an actual
live reaction.
I saw that and I was like, if I walked into the movie theater and I saw that,
turn right around.
I would piss myself.
Oh God!
I gotta post this on our socials because it is so fucking funny. And he's in the back row too. And there's people just casually on their phones during before the previews start, just sitting next to this fucking Freddy Fazbear.
Yeah, this is fine. Sure. Yeah, that's not creepy at all. Oh dear.
Yeah, I would die.
You would go running for the hills.
All right, so let's do we're going to do favorite Halloween comboed with horror movies.
Favorite scary movies.
I'll let Christian focus on the horror since that's more up his alley. I'll focus on the Halloween aspect because that's more up my alley. And we'll have a collective list for everybody.
See, I'm trying to figure out if there's an order I want to put these in, but I think I'll start like this. So I'm going to technically start with a double pairing because both these movies are sitting in my DVR, but they're 2 older films that are very well regarded that I suggest people seek out. One is called The Haunting from 1963, which is basically psychologist goes to a house and things are weird there relating to the kids. And I'm pairing that with The Innocents, which is a similar type of film where it's basically a new governess goes to watch over these kids, and she keeps seeing people and stuff and really weird, and it's on my list of things to see, but it has, from what I've heard, some of the scariest like scariest and most dread-inducing final frames and stuff.
So you said The Innocents and
The Haunting. So those are two black and white films that I'll throw out there.
from a Halloween perspective, for me, don't try to tell me otherwise. Don't try to tell anybody otherwise, because this movie is both Nightmare Before Christmas, baby. That is a Halloween and a Christmas movie. It fits both. Jack Skellington is that dude.
Just like how Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Exactly. Shout out Oingo Boingo. Jack Skellington is that guy. Nightmare Before Christmas is a banger. I know we talked about it in our Let's Make Dylan Feel Old segment last episode, that movie is now 30 years old. Still holds up.
In a what some people would call kind of the first proper slasher film, I'll throw out there now as my next one. It's an exceptionally weird movie, but it's the movie that kind of originates. The call is coming from inside the house. It's a little movie called Black Christmas. So kind of, which is basically around Christmas time, there's a killer that's stalking around a sorority house. So yeah, that'll be my next one I'll give you, Kyle.
Next up on my list, from a Halloween perspective, you can't go wrong with Ghostbusters. The original Ghostbusters is just a classic. It's been put into multiple different projects as people dressing up as the Ghostbusters. It's been spun off millions of times. Ghostbusters is when you think Halloween, you think Ghostbusters.
So next, this is higher on my personal list, but now I've kind of decided to go in like kind of almost time-ish order in terms of when things have come out, just because I'm staring at my Letterboxd page. But so I may be slightly off, but Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh, I fucking hate you.
As people who know me know, I am the biggest Alfred Hitchcock fan. Like he is one of my favorite directors ever. The Birds is maybe his like most like screwed up film, because the monster is not human. It is unexplained exactly what's happening, and it has what I think is just one of the most terrifying, dread-inducing things. Is like the back half of that movie. It is so cursed. It is so unbelievably cursed. Between birds coming down the chimney, between the final frame, and what I think is maybe Hitchcock's best scene, in which Tippi Hedren's character is waiting outside the school as there's no score and there's children singing and she's smoking. Tippi Hedren's just looking around. One bird flies onto the jungle gym behind her. She's it kind of cuts away. It cuts back. There's now another bird there. And then after she sees a bird in the sky and she's scared and she looks down as it lands behind her, the entire fucking jungle gym is full of birds. And that is the biggest nope, I'm good moment. Like that it is like peak of his powers, Hitchcock just going, I'm going to scare the ever-living crap out of you with just hauntingly children singing in the background, a woman smoking, and no other sound.
For anybody who doesn't know, Birds are my biggest fucking fear. I hate birds. They are the fucking scariest fucking things on this planet. That is, if you had to ask me what is one movie I will never ever watch, it is that.
Come on.
Never.
Come on, Kyle. Come
Never.
on.
You couldn't.
It's so
pay me
good.
enough. You couldn't pay me enough to sit and watch that.
All right, so we now know it's a Clockwork Orange situation. You eyeballs pulled open, strap you to your chair. Kyle, you're watching the birds now. You have no choice in this.
Nope. This is all parody. I would rather drink bleach.
Okay, Kyle. What is your next pick?
My next one, Halloween-ish. It's kind of a pairing up from has Halloween theme, and then it is the best / scariest of the films. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone has Halloween aspects to it, and then my personal opinion, best Harry Potter movie, and is the darkest and like scariest and like makes the entire series better, is Prisoner of Azkaban.
Which, by the way, guys, is directed by Academy Award-winning director Alfonso Cuarón.
Yes.
Because, of course, there is. So I have, 5 more slots, Kyle?
Yes. Because you have the Innocence and the Haunting kind of paired up. You have Black Christmas and the Birds.
So, I'm going to cheat here to a very extreme degree because all these are the same genre and it's really hard to pick one. So I'm just going to call this Giallo horror, which you can find all these films if you search them up on YouTube for the most part. But these are films made by Italian directors in the 60s and 70s that are all like an hour and a half. They're all like kind of thrillers meets slasher type things, but are kind of really dread inducing. So it's kind of a quadrant of Deep Red, the original Suspiria, not the Luca Guadagnino one from 2018, Blood and Black Lace, and The Bird with the Crystal Plumage. You can find 3 out of those 4 on YouTube just for free if you search them up for full movie. They took down the full movie of Suspiria, but you can probably watch it in parts somewhere. But I'm kind of doing that as a collective one because I all feel like very much the same about them. And it's kind of like I would recommend all of these to you guys because there's some other specific ones I want to mention here. So I'm kind of just cramming them all into one spot and cheating.
My next one is a Halloween classic. If you don't watch this during the Halloween season, you're doing it wrong. The original Hocus Pocus.
Fair. Oh, God. I only have 4 spots. Oh, this is so hard. You know what? Let's do it like this. Because I feel obliged to, I'm going to include a monster movie. But it's not the monster movie everyone would think. Because it's
Monsters,
funny.
Inc.
Young Frankenstein. Young Frankenstein. Because it's a monster movie, but it's one of the funniest movies I've ever watched because it's Mel Brooks. Like it is so good, and I can't justify doing this list without throwing that film on it because it just feels disingenuous to me. But now I have to make tough choices on the last 3.
My next one is going to be, I gotta find the actual name for it. Yes. 1999 Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Yeah, Kyle.
Absolute banger.
Nice choice.
Shout out Nick Castellanos.
I I will say this. I've gone back. And watched some of them. Those like first 2 to 3 Scooby Doo movies are like pretty good. They're pretty good.
100%. They're so fun, and The Witch's Ghost is like when you're a kid watching that, you're
Yeah.
like shaking in your boots because there's some creepy shit in there.
I'm going to cheat one last time, just because there's 4 movies I like actually want to get on this list, but 2 of them are by the same director. So I'm gonna call this the John Carpenter corner, and it's the pairing of Halloween and the Thing, which Halloween is still for my money. Like just it's simple, but it's so dread-inducing and terrifying. And then the Thing is just paranoia-inducing and has maybe the best practical creature design in history. For people who haven't seen it and watch it, these practical effects were done by a guy who's like 22. Like it is certifiably insane what they're able to do in that film. What's your number 3, Kyle?
My next one, I'm gonna dip into the slasher horror because I feel like it is the go-to. The original Scream.
I'll say this much. I'm now not going to put it on my list because the original Scream is like one of my favorite movies of the 1990s and was one of the picks I was like I have to name this. But let's just make a note that like that is like my number one thing there. Okay, good. So that opens up my last 2 things a little bit. So I know what I'm going to say for my last one, and I'm first going to add a disclaimer here. I'm not going to say The Shining because I'm trying to open you guys up to more new and interesting things, but The Shining is definitely something like that. I'm going to also stick with a comedy zombie film, Shaun of the Dead, which is Edgar Wright's real first big breakthrough feature that is so unbelievably fun. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are hilarious. I just love it. Just love it.
Let's see.
What's your number 2, Kyle?
One I'm gonna go with. I'm bouncing back and forth.
You can cheat.
Yeah, I'm gonna cheat on this one actually.
Yeah, given how much you have let me cheat, go ahead.
I'm gonna go with the trio of Jordan Peele movies: Get Out, Us,
Yeah,
and Nope.
I feel bad not picking them, but also there's one film that I'm like I have to say this one. And so for my pseudo number 1, but like most recent in chronological order, I will just say this first. I would like to honorable mention 4 films here. Hereditary, for those who haven't seen it, it's one of the most like tension-inducing films that has like three jump scares, but they're like well-earned, smart jump scares. Train to Busan, which for my money is like the best modern zombie film. It's a Korean film. It's amazing. It follows, which is this indie horror film. I think it's streaming somewhere. But basically, think of it as what's right with this? Put this up. Yeah, It Follows is currently on Netflix. Think of it as a sexually transmitted disease which causes a monster that will always be walking slow and following you until it gets you or you die. Take your pick. Has a very long last for me. And my last honorable mention is a movie called The Babadook, which is this. Kyle, do you know The Babadook?
Yep.
It's a good honorable mention, right? Babadook.
Oh, that's funny.
But my real number one, and this is for all of us sickos out there, is a movie called Raw. Raw is a film directed by French by the French filmmaker, and I always butcher her last name, Julia Ducournau. I don't know how to pronounce French last names. It's just on Wikipedia's coming of age body horror drama film. And basically it's this. Vegetarian girl goes to veterinary school college. As part of hazing, she has to eat a raw chicken liver, I think it is. And then she develops a craving for meat. And I think you know when I say craving for meat, how far this begins to extend, Kyle. Let's say at some points it reaches human flesh. And it's a very amazing film because it's so brutal and controlled, and it'll go from like normal classroom stuff to like kind of very cannibalistic-ish stuff to then, oh right, it is veterinary school, and she goes to talk to her sister who's there, and her sister has her hand basically up to her like bicep up a cow's ass, and you're like, what the fuck, man? Like this,
Okay.
this is very much a film that will just remove your appetite completely, but is such a good film. I'm so mad it's no longer on Netflix, but it is such a. If you really want to see a batshit crazy film and are open to watching it, do it, because especially the final scene, it will like send you on a tailspin with the revelation at the end.
My honorable mention list, I'll give 4 as well. Blade. Stranger Things season 2.
What's the runtime of that one, Kyle?
I don't know. But there's Halloween and Ghostbusters involved in that. And it released 6 years ago this week, which is fucking insane. Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. It's showtime. Dum 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 dum.
And then my last honorable mention is going to be Edward Scissorhands. My number 1 on my list.
Solid bit of Tim Burton there, I will say.
Has to go to 1980's The Shining.
Thank you. Thank you for at least covering it. Because people call that a scary movie. No, that's just a dread-inducing movie. Like it's that is my closest comparison to Hereditary, because both films don't have like that many jump scares. It's just ratcheting the dread so high that you're just like, I can't take this anymore. And it's also funny that it's considered one of the scariest films, and Stephen King hates it.
Should I speaking of The Shining,
The Shining.
I found this, and I think it's very, very funny, and I'm going to send you a picture of it so you can get a look at it. Should I order this for the studio to put on one of the bookshelves, because I think it's very good use of The Shining, and I think you'll get a good laugh out of it.
Yes, 100% yes. 100% yes. Do it, coward. Do it. Do it. Do it.
How good is that?
That's so good. So unbelievably good. Holy shit. That is amazing.
I can't wait to order that and have it on one of the shelves down here. My mom just walks down and sees that face staring at her.
You have to find some like glow in the dark paint and paint the eyes, and that's just like middle of the night. She comes down, it's just the eyes are there.
Oh, it's good. It's so good. So yeah, I'll put that up on the screen for everybody. If you're just listening,
The Shining,
is literally The Shining book and holder. It's so good. Let us know in the YouTube comment section or the Apple Podcast reviews your favorite Halloween and horror movies and shows that you watch this time of year. We'll read them on the next episode. Have a very fun Halloween weekend. This is my last podcast as a 29-year-old, which is gross.
Old man
Jenkins and his jalopy. That's all we got for you guys. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Follow us on the socials at StreamerSZN on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and StreamerSZN Pod on TikTok. Follow Christian on Twitter at @thewiz_PHI. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel, youtube.com/@UndergroundSportsPhiladelphia. Get us to 700 subscribers. Hopefully sooner rather than later, and it would be really dope if we hit 1K before the end of the year. If we get to a certain threshold, I think we're going to do a subathon.
Oh, God.
So we hit 1K before the end of 2023. You can also follow us on Letterboxd, just like Martin Scorsese. Just search StreamerSZN, and we'll be back next week talking about the penultimate episode of Loki Season 2. We'll let you guys know what the next show/movie we'll be watching. You can also leave those in the YouTube comment section or on Apple Podcast reviews. But this has been another episode of Streamer Season, the exclusive streaming platform TV and movie podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Christian, I'm KB. We're going to go time slip into Halloween weekend. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.